دوستان، به برنامه مادر و کودک خوش آمدید. در این جلسه از برنامه با یکی از کسانی که واقعا خیلی محبوب هستند برای من و حالا علتش رو براتون توضیح خواهم داد، این گفتگو رو، این جلسه مامتاک رو خواهیم داشت. ایشون از کسانی هستند که نه تنها به عنوان یک زن عالم، زنی که شاید بهترین دانش و به اصطلاح آموزش رو در این رابطه با پزشکی و پزشک زنان ایشون دارند و از بهترین دانشگاه‌ها فارغ التحصیل شدن، ولی در کنارش انسانی هستند که consciousness و یا خودآگاهی و integration of consciousness and well-being رو به خوبی باهاش آگاه هستند. یکی از دلایلی که ایشون رو من به عنوان پزشک خودم یا پزشک زنان خودم انتخاب کردم همین بود، برای اینکه در رابطه من با ایشون حس کردم که ایشون من رو فقط به عنوان یک مراجع، به عنوان یک مریض نمیدید، بلکه به عنوان یک زن میدید و یک زنی که از جنبه‌های مختلف، زیبایی، بیوتی، جنبه spirituality یا احساسی روحانی و خلاصه خانوادگی با من این رابطه رو برقرار کرد و خیلی خیلی دوست دوستش داشتم. از جلسه اول برام محبوب و عزیز بود و تا امروزه او رو پزشک خودم و انسانی میدونم که واقعا به او میبالم و افتخار میکنم و او از هیروی به قول معروف she's one of my heroes. So Dr. Emily Sikking, welcome to MomTalk.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Happy to have you. So let's get to it. Mother's Day just passed. We want to wish you all a happy Mother's Day.
Yes, happy
right?
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
I know, isn't that fun?
That was fun. That was fun. So you witnessed the birth of our three angels.
I know. What a blessing it was for me, and what a privilege to be there.
What a blessing it was for me to have you. I was just telling our audience that from the first encounter I had with you, I just felt really a spiritual, heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul connection. And I think that's really important when you choose your physicians and practitioners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely critical. I think it's really important that you feel comfortable with whomever it is that you're having take care of you, because it's a very vulnerable time, not just pregnancy, but in gynecology in general. I think that when you are going through changes in your life, when you're either going through puberty or when you're going through menopause or when you're going through any sort of changes or stress, it's very disconcerting and it's very scary. And I think it's important to have a safe place where you feel that you can go and someone will answer your questions and someone will not judge you. I think that's really, really important.
And I love how you focus on holistic ways of having those conversations with women from an interpersonal, neurobiological way, from the inside out, and you connect the family system. It's a very holistic approach to connecting to your patients. And you spend a lot of time with your patients, I've noticed.
I do have that luxury.
Yes.
And I do think it's important, because I do think it is important for you to have a relationship. How can you possibly think that you could tell anybody sort of your innermost personal fears and concerns without feeling as though you are safe and feeling as though you're not going to be judged and you're in a place where someone is going to understand and get you and also be there. Just be there, not run away from you and not be unavailable. I think that's really, really important. And I think that that's an important thing for women in general to have. I think that we have lost a lot of that in the hubbub and the shuffle of life. Working moms, where we work and then we get home and then we have this. And it's important for us to not only have someone who listens to us, but for us to generate that within our children, to sit and listen to them and look them in the eye and talk to them. I think it's really important.
Present. در رابطه با انتخاب پزشکتون و یا پزشک زنانتون با خانم دکتر امیلی سیکینگ صحبت میکنیم و ایشون از نکاتی رو که هایلایت میکنن و بهش اشاره میکنن این هستش که وقتی که پزشک زنانتون رو میخواین انتخاب بکنین، مطمئن باشین که او فردی هستش که به شما اهمیت میده، شما رو در چشم نگاه میکنه، وقت براتون صرف میکنه، با شما میشینه، درباره زندگیتون میخواد بدونه که چگونه health و well-being شما، سلامتی شما در رابطه با لایف استایلتون، در رابطه با روابطتون، در رابطه با اون پرایوریتی و اولویت هایی که قرار میدین در زندگیتون چگونه این پیشرفت داره میکنه. و ایشون وقت زیادی صرف میکنن با مراجعینشون، با مریضایی که در تماس هستن و درمان میکنن و بهشون اهمیت قائل هستن برای تمام این روابطی که با اونها دارن. و من داشتم میگفتم که شخصا خودم این رو خیلی دوست دارم و علاقه دارم به این که ایشون کانشسنس دارن در روابطشون با به اصطلاح زنانی که درمان میکنن. Dr. Sikking, one topic that is a hot topic. So I reach out to the community and generally get feedback and do a needs assessment. You know, what are some topics that you want to hear about? You want to listen to conversations. And one hot topic was talking to tweens and teens regarding premenstrual cycle and PMSing and getting your period and even the language. Like, where do we start? When is the right time to talk to your children. I personally have to say I'm also curious to hear your perspective because our 9-year-old daughter, she came to me and had some questions because she had heard from a friend who had an older sibling. So usually it's the contact or the conversation, or some of you may have cousins or older cousins, and so those conversations come up maybe not at the time when your daughter is ready. And so readiness, the language, how do we process, how do we prepare our little girls?
Well, I will give you one huge piece of advice. And the first thing is when your children ask you a question that you're not quite sure how to answer, take a deep breath, start wiggling your toes, and your brain will actually have blood flow return to it because it has completely lost your brain at that point because you are not anticipating your child asking you something that you're not ready to talk about. When that happens, I think it's important, first and foremost, is to also ask your child where the question comes from. What do you think it is? What do you think this question is? What do you think a period is? What do you think PMS is? What do you think a tampon is? What do you think these things are? And I think for girls, it's really important for them to know that you are listening to them, that you will hear them and what they're saying, and that you're going to explain things to them, but you don't have to give them the Encyclopedia Britannica when they're not asking the question. So you want to make sure the question is being asked, that you understand what the question is. So always asking, what do you think this means? And I think that's very, very important to start with because they can be uncomfortable conversations sometimes. But then I think it's really important to communicate with them and to leave the door open. And
so
to say,
let's say your 9-year-old or 8-year-old comes into the bathroom and sees blood, right? How do you handle that situation?
So the first thing you say is, this is normal. That's the most important thing, is that they know that this is normal, that you're not in harm's way, that nothing bad has happened to you, that you're okay. And I think that's critical for them not to think that there's something wrong with them. The first time that a child has their menses, it can be very scary, and it can happen as young as 9. So it can be a lot younger than you anticipate. Generally speaking, girls follow in mom's footsteps. So if mom got her period at 11, usually your daughter will have their period somewhere in the neighborhood of 11, but not necessarily. So you want to have some semblance of understanding. Good things to have around the house are just books that you just kind of lay around, because sometimes they just want to pick something up. You can just drop it in the kitchen or drop it by the TV or by the channel changer by the television. Those are good spots. By the cookie jar.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And that's a good way to start the conversation and keep it open-minded. But the key when your child comes up to you, if they're seeing you and you're caught in a situation where you're not anticipating them to see you, is to immediately take that deep breath, wiggle your toes, and let them know that you're okay and that it's normal, that whatever's happening at that moment is completely normal and nothing to be frightened of. And to take them through that process is important. It depends on the age of the child. It depends on the maturity of the particular child. So sometimes and it also depends on your relationship with your own child. Some women are not comfortable talking to their children about certain things. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But find some place where they can talk about it and where they do have a safe place where they can go and they can communicate. And that is really important.
So what I hear you say, that the communication needs to be based on ages and stages of development and appropriate, and you wait for them to bring it up, and then you respond and you try to normalize it as much as you can.
Exactly.
And you try to have those open conversations.
Absolutely.
That you don't try to keep it a private, secret matter, that it's healthy and really important to minimize shame by having the conversations in the context of a normal, open conversation. And be educated.
It's always interesting to me. I mean, I remember when one of my son's friends came up to me, and he was in middle school, and the child came up to me, and I'd never met him before, and he said, "Hugh says you're a vagina doctor." And I looked at him and I said, well, I guess I am. I had never thought of that before, but I guess that's what I do. And it was an interesting choice of words, but at least it was it was actually anatomically correct language. So I thought that was fabulous. So I do encourage my children to use true words and not to say, oh, this, that. I use the word. Be okay with it. It's okay. It's, you know, do you say your ear is something other than your ear? Your ear is your ear. So say it's your ear.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So in Farsi, just to recap, از نکاتی که خانم دکتر امیلی سیکینگ دربارش صحبت میکنن و پیشنهاد میکنن این هستش که اگر دختر شما حتی 9 سالش هست یا خردسال هستش و سوالاتی داره و میخواد بدونه در رابطه با عادت ماهیانه و پیریود و PMS، خیلی مهمه، خیلی عادی هستش به صورت نرمال، به صورت عادی با او صحبت بکنین در این موارد، نه اینکه انسایکلوپدیا و کتاب براش بخونین یا زیاد از حد بهش اطلاع بدین. ولی مهمه که به اونا بگین که این نرمال هستش، اتفاق بدی نیفتاده، دیزیز یا پاتولوژی یا مشکل سختی نیست، نرمال هستش. این عادت ماهیانه 1 بار در ماه این اتفاق میفته و چرایی اونو و کتاب‌های مخصوص به خصوص برای نوجوانان یا برای خردسالان در این روابط هستش. اون بخش سایکو ادویکیشنه، همونطور که شما پادی ترینینگ رو با بچه‌تون صحبت می‌کردین و سایکو ادویکیشن و اون مواردی که باش آمادش می‌کردین، آمادگی او همون قدر هم در رابطه با پریودش و PMSش و عادت ماهیانش باید آمادگی داشته باشه. بنابراین اگر در بعضی از فرهنگ‌ها این رایج هستش که نه عیبه یا زشته یا اینو نباید دربارش صحبت بکنیم، شاید باید یه مقدار اینو rethink and revisit، برای اینکه اون شیم یا شرمی که در رابطه با بدن یک زن، بدن یک دختر یا عادت ماهیانه به او داریم یاد میدیم، از روی قایم کردن یا حرف نزدن یا هاش هاش کردن، اون شرم بخشی از هویتش و بخشی از پرسونالیتی و شخصیتش میشه و ما این شیم رو نمیخوایم که به این دختر و زن به اصطلاح منتقل بکنیم. بنابراین مسئولیت مادر و پدر در این رابطه هستش که به خصوص رابطه صمیمانه پدرها با دختراشون که این گفتگوها رو، گفتمانها رو داشته باشن، این مسئله رو به صورت طبیعی و نرمال و عادی ببینن و دربارش صحبت بکنن، ادوکییت بکنن فرزندانشون که آمادگی داشته باشن برای تغییر و تحولاتی که در بدنشون قرار اتفاق بیفته. و اگر خب چند فرزند دارین، که در کیس خود من 2 دختر دارم 1 پسر دارم، این گفتگوها رو میتونین با هم به اصطلاح پلی بزنین در این گفتگوها که پسرتون هم آگاه باشه. I was just mentioning that having those cross-gendered conversations, communications is also healthy, isn't it?
Extremely important. Right. Extremely important. And I will say one of the most valuable things that I was ever told that I actually incorporated into being a parent was when you're in the car. Those are the conversations in your relationships of any kind are a great place because you can't get away. You're stuck with each other. You can be silent, but there is that sense that you are in the same room together and you can't just get away. So there is that component of it that I think is really relevant. So I do think that sometimes there are topics that come up that are good to bring up in the car. As an example, when I have a topic I need to talk to my kids about, I try to find a time when I'm in the car to bring it up with them. So that does lend to, especially living in Los Angeles, where there are a lot of us who have a lot of people driving our kids around all over the place. And it's oftentimes, it's easier for me to let somebody else drive my kid to this place and the other. And I have to encourage us to kind of step away from that. It's actually better to be in the car with them because I think it gives you the opportunity to really discuss things. As much as it seems like wasted time for you, it's actually some of the most valuable time that you can have is being in the car with your child or your spouse, quite frankly, or a friend. I mean, that's really when you can get it all out and it's good.
I love it. اون اوقاتی که در حال رانندگی با فرزندانمون هستیم، اون اوقات رو به عنوان ساعت‌های طلایی استفاده بکنیم، چرا که در ماشین وقتی که با هم هستیم جای فرار دیگه وجود نداره. بنابراین میبایست همدیگر رو درک بکنیم، میبایست همدیگر رو تحمل بکنیم و میبایست که اون شدت به اصطلاح understanding یا being a good listener، خوب گوش کردن رو، یا conscious communication، اون رو میتونیم تمرین بکنیم. و چه نکته مهمی هستش که دکتر سیکینگ به ما دارن اشاره میکنن. I like to invite Sue DeCaro and Erin Taylor from Building Connected Communities. Hi and welcome to MomTalk.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. So you've been hearing some of these conversations regarding women, girls, and PMS and menstruation. What are your thoughts?
You know, it's so funny. So many stories from my own household were coming up as you were talking, Emily. And my youngest daughter, who's 19 now, used to bring up everything under the sun at the dinner table, and all using correct terminology. She would ask questions, and it would stun us because you're not, you know, I don't think in a society like ours, we're accustomed to people just blasting out whatever comes to mind,
Right.
And being curious and using the language that's appropriate. So we were definitely tested. I love your idea of asking the question back, what do you think? Because I think not only does it tap into where the child is, but allows the parent to do the breathing, to regroup, to think, you know, what am I going to say? And I think when my child asked at 3 where babies come from, that was my method, because I thought, holy cow, you know, what am I going to say to a 3-year-old about where babies come from?
Exactly.
That's a lot to take in, and that's a little scary for 3 years old. So I think that's fabulous advice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also really liked what you were talking about with having conversations with your kids in the car. And the other thing that I think is helpful about that is that they don't have to make eye contact with you. So particularly, yeah, if you're talking about a sensitive topic for them, they don't have to see your face. They don't have to see your eyes. So they can divert, they can look at the floor. If they're in the back seat, they can look out the window. And so it makes that difficult topic maybe just a teensy bit easier for them.
And for you, the parent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can see in building these types of conscious communication that you can only expect, you know, better integration, better well-being, wellness. So it's all good. It's leading to building, you know, healthy families. And Dr. Emily Sikking, her mission and her focus, her vision has always been to also elevate health within the family, which oftentimes starts from mom.
Yep.
Right? Mom's awareness of how to do that.
That's right.
And you're
And
like
reminders.
laser focused on that. Yeah, she's on me. Like every time I go in, I feel like I just had a like well-rounded session, and I need to go and get focused.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, you need to be able to spend the time on yourself. As I've said many, many, many times to many of my patients, you're no good at taking care of anybody else if you're not taking care of yourself. So it is key. You are not healthy if you're not in a healthy place. You don't have a healthy family. I mean, you might, but in general, a healthy family comes from mom as the core. And as much as a lot of people look at it differently, I do think that mom spends, despite the fact that we are more than 50% of the working population now, and we are workforce, and we are divided in our roles of what we do. I think it's really important that we take care of ourselves. Not in lieu of something else, but in addition to. And in order to take care of your family and to be healthy and show them what healthy is, it's imperative that you not just be a perfect role model, but that you be the role model for your children. I caught myself, and I had a moment where I actually looked in the mirror and literally was looking at my son, actually, when he used a bad word in my presence. And I thought, that's really not appropriate. And then I thought, I think he's heard me say that before. And I thought, well, I think I'm going to have to own that this is my kid, and that perfect or not, he's mine. And I need to be who I am and own who I am. And in doing that, they will have more comfortable relationships and feel better about themselves if I allow them to own who they are. And they're mine. So good, bad, and indifferent, they're mine. And I think that's an important thing for moms to understand and for moms to embrace, whether they want to nurse or not nurse, or, have their child wear a beanie or not, or, what kind of, diapers you use is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. What's relevant is that you're honest and that you have in some semblance of realness to what you're doing, and to embrace that. And I think kids know when you're lying to them. And I think kids really do get when there's a facade. I think that integrity with your children is key. Whether perfect or not, that's not what it's about. I think that whole concept of perfect is a problem, not a good thing.
We're all perfectly imperfect.
I like that. Perfectly imperfect. Beautiful.
Perfectly imperfect. Now, I know, for example, in our culture, there is this cultural phenomena of keeping certain aspects of you and your family very, very private. And oftentimes when I'm working with families, especially in the context of acculturation and assimilation, if they've lived here long enough to be a little more autonomous, a little more individualistic, a little less, of having that duality in their interpretation of self and other, and that I find that transition a bit tricky sometimes, right? And so what are your suggestions for those families who are just learning about authenticity, connecting to the inner self, and how it is really critical to have that real, authentic, transparent relationship with self, but also to have it interpersonally.
That's right.
In other relationships, not just limited to your immediate family, not just limited to your mom, dad, and siblings, but also beyond. What do you suggest to those families, and how could that awareness or consciousness change perhaps one's well-being and family's well-being?
I think there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I think the tools are the tools that you choose that work for your family. I turned off the television. That's what I did. I basically just said, TV's off, so whether we're all talking to each other or not, at least that is not part of the conversation. As much as my mother thinks the television's on in my house all the time, it's not. But I also think that having common areas where you kind of can't get away from each other, where it's not that the child goes into their room and closes the door. I think that it's important to have common space. I've always had open door policy. Whether it's worked or not is timely, and nothing's going to work every single time. But I think it really is key to give yourself an opportunity to see what's going on around you and to take a few minutes. Actually, this is one of my favorite stories that I heard, and I will tell you this because this is truly one of my favorite ones. There was a crazy woman in the neighborhood who, and this is not my story, but this is the story. There was a crazy woman in the neighborhood who built her house, and when she built her house, she put a room in her closet that closed, and it locked from the inside. It had one chair in it, one light in it, and that was it. And she went into the room every day for 15 minutes. And unless the house was on fire, you were not allowed to disturb her. If someone came to the door, they had to wait. If the telephone rang, they took a message. If someone was hungry or needed this, that, and the other, they could wait 15 minutes. Nothing was that important, except maybe a fire, for 15 minutes. And she wasn't the crazy lady in the neighborhood. She was a genius. She figured out that for her to be able to give and for her to be able to be selfless, and she needed to have her center. And I think that that's really important. It doesn't take that much time every day for us to be able to do that, that then allows us to turn off the television and just have everybody kind of walking around the house. And everybody's doing whatever they're doing, but you're in the house together. And I do think there is that time just being in the house together, whether you're talking to each other or not, whether you're sitting at the perfect family dinner or not. But as long as there's a little bit of time, either every day or at least times throughout the week, where there is just time, where everybody's just living in the house together. Maybe not with other people in the house. Maybe there are times during the day, during the week, where you say no one else is allowed in the house except the 4 of us, and we have to be in the house, or the 5 of us, or the 7 of us, or whatever the number is of your family, or just the 2 of you, depending upon how many there are in your household. But I think having that sort of, we're in this house alone, and there's no electronics going on, preferably, is a good thing to have.
Sue, your thoughts?
Okay. Can you tell I'm bursting here?
I love it.
You know, Erin and I work with a worldwide community of people who do pretty much what we do in terms of educating parents, bringing more consciousness to life, and really supporting parents and families all over the world. Because raising children today is extremely challenging. And as you said, you know, having time in the house where you're alone, family time, is something I think few and far between. We find a lot of families struggling with that in our own practices and worldwide. So I think electronics have, you know, been a big distraction for many, for children and for adults. We're just as distracted as our children. So I think to build the connection, which is something that we talk about all the time, the conscious connection, parent with themselves, you know, allowing themselves to get to know who they are, what they're about, without the distractions of, you know, being on electronics all the time, and then allowing themselves that opportunity to get to know who their child is, the spirit of their child, what their children are about, and how to really foster the growth of each child based on what they're seeing in those children. So unless we're connecting to ourselves and then fully connecting to our children and being present for them, it's a choppy, detached type of environment. So we work, you know, worldwide trying to bring this to the forefront for parents and children alike, so that the next generation grows up really secure, knowing who they are, having connections to adults in their lives, and feeling an incredible sense of self. Mm-hmm. Erin, I'm sure you want to add to that.
Well, I was just thinking about the story of the crazy lady in the neighborhood. And as you were telling that story, I was thinking in my head, I don't think she's crazy. I think she sounds like a genius.
I love it. Me too.
Because truly, it is so important for, I think, particularly moms, but dads too. Mm-hmm. It's so important. And I think that our society doesn't really so much encourage moms to put themselves on their priority list. Mm-hmm. And so I meet so many moms who wear their busyness like a badge of honor. You know, they laundry list all the places they have to go with their kids and which activities their kids are in and how they have no time to sit or think or move or do anything. And I think somehow we have to change that narrative and start coming back to a time. I remember my mom, and my mother-in-law tells me about it when she was a young mom. They weren't overly busy. They weren't running like crazy. My mother-in-law was a stay-at-home mom, and my mom worked full-time. So I had both, you know, I have information from both sides of the coin there. Right. And neither one of them were burning the candle at both ends, not getting enough sleep, having no free time on the weekends or the evenings. And so I think somehow we have to move back towards that little piece of what their lives look like, so that we don't look selfish, for taking time for ourselves and for taking care of ourselves. In fact, we can be seen as the role models that we really truly are to our kids, especially our girls, because we don't want them to try to emulate a person who's run ragged and stressed and anxious and miserable. I think we would all agree that we want our girls to grow into young women who put themselves absolutely on their priority list.
Such a good
that's
point.
key.
It's very important.
Really key.
And also for the women in the Middle East, those of you who are joining us from the Middle East and perhaps from Iran, I just want to really emphasize this, that self-care does not mean selfish. Self-care means self-compassion, means you care enough for yourself that you're willing to honor your well-being and your health so that you can be in a more equitable, more joyful relationship with your family members, including your spouse and other members of your family. So it's really key, because I think going back to 2-3 generations, like I can hear my grandmother, saying that, once you become a mom, you give up everything and sacrifice everything so that you will be committed and focused, like laser focused on your children. Like I remember those conversations and I remember thinking that that's the way to be the mom. And of course, I try to be very conscious of self-compassion, and I, take the self-compassion questionnaire every now and then just to make sure I'm on the right track.
That's awesome.
Yeah, selfcompassion.org, if you're interested. It's a great tool, honestly. It's like it gives you feedback right there in your face. And I try to be mindful, and I try to be a role model to my daughter, especially my girls, because, in order to reach the 50-50 or, go beyond 50-50, I think we have to be those leaders, those models, those role models. And it starts with me, and I know it starts with you, and it starts with us, and having self-compassion and really voicing it, stepping up and say, listen, this matters. No, I'm not a slave. I'm not going to be, picking up after you. Enough is enough, and really trying to step it up so that everyone gets healthy. Because it's not healthy when it's 80-20 or 7, right?
Nope.
You know that.
I know. And that sort of parlays into an interesting area of my practice that I've started to develop. And that is looking at women and saying, okay, now I'm going to make sure that you're going to come in and get your health taken care of. And but we got to take care of you on many other levels. And it's not just about your pap smears. And it's not just about, but it's about how you feel about you. And I think that's extremely relevant. I think that it's very, very important for us as women to feel good about ourselves. So I have fallen into this new arm of my practice. And the new component, so I do obstetrics, gynecology, and I have a component of aesthetics that I'm developing. And part of it is because I really want to take care of my whole patient. I want to take care of my whole person who comes in to see me. And I started with a laser that actually helps with the vagina so that the vagina can actually be more functional and not cause problems for women. A lot of women have pain. A lot of women have discomfort and dryness as life goes on. And I think it's very important for that part of your body to function. I think that's an important part of you to feel healthy and to feel normal and to feel female, is to be able to use your vagina however it is that you want to use it. And then I extended that into 2 other lasers that I've picked up. One of them is a laser that actually melts fat. It's not intended to change your body dramatically for the rest of your life, but we all have our areas of our body as much as we're not vain. I mean, as you said before we kind of started, I don't even wear makeup. I'm vain in my own ways. We all have our vanities, and we all have our things that make us feel comfortable. The other day I said, one article of my clothing I have to feel kind of like a rock star about in order to go out every day, because it makes me just feel that much better, because then it doesn't make a difference if my pants are 10 or 15 years old. If my shoes make me feel really special, then I kind of have a little, pickup in my step. So it's the same thing. There are always parts of our bodies that none of us like. And I don't think there's anything wrong with us taking care of ourselves and wanting ourselves to be beautiful in our own eyes. It's not about anyone else. It's about you and how you feel about you. And I think those are important things. So I got one laser that melts a little fat on your body, and it's terrific, and I love it. And I got another laser that helps with sort of fine lines and wrinkles, and it helps with stretch marks and scars and things that we all have our Achilles heel that we create, our scarlet letter that we've created, that no one else has put upon us. We have done that ourselves. And if there's something I can do for my patients, or that you can do for yourself, that makes you feel better about you, then do it. Do it. That's what it's about. We're here on this planet for a finite amount of time. Be here and enjoy being here. Feel good about who you are and what you are, and embrace your beauties that you have, because we all have them and we're all beautiful. But we all have our stuff. No one's getting away without it, and it's understandable.
That's right. So we have a couple of clips that we like to show you
yes.
of some of these wonderful, magical tools. And the first one, tell us about this first clip.
Well, this one is another one. This has been around for a very long time. This is a radio frequency. What it does is it actually tightens the skin, and we all have our parts of our body that we don't particularly like. And as we get older, those things get saggier and become more of an issue. And this particular radio frequency, it actually increases the temperature in the tissue and causes a tightening of the skin. So that's the first clip. I don't know if we're going to show that clip, but
let's see it.
Do we have it? Oh, there it goes.
So hi, today we're doing Pelifern, and we've just done someone's knee. This side's all nice and tight. Its purpose is for skin tightening. It's a radio frequency. It increases the temperature of the tissue. You're going to hear a very loud noise, and you're going to watch me monitoring it. It feels warm, increases in temperature.
Okay.
So it's sort of a fun thing. And then the other one that I have, which is sort of newer to the market. Everybody's heard, or maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have heard about cool sculpting and about liposuction and laser lipo and all these different things. This is sort of the newest one that's out and available. It's called Sculpture, and it actually melts fat. It's a laser, and I'm actually melting my own fat in the laser, so it's sort of fun. So you can see that I can talk through it, and it's actually working while I'm on there. I try to be as authentic as I want everyone else to be. So this is what I did, because I have my muffin top from having had my babies, and I wasn't particularly comfortable putting on my jeans every day when I would get my comfortable clothes on.
Sculpture on myself, my new fat laser machine. You can do it once a month, 25 minutes, takes 25% off of that particular area. You got to do it twice though, and then between 6 and 12 weeks you see amazing results. Come in, let's do it before summer.
Very cool.
So my mantra, these are sort of my fun little toys, but my mantra is unchanged. It's from the beginning to the end. We as women, it's so important for us to feel good about ourselves, to feel healthy and whole. And however that is that you need to get there, it's your journey. And we all, as the rest of us, need to support each other in that journey. And I think it's imperative that we work on being less judgmental and being more embracing and allowing everyone to do what it is that you need to do in order to make yourself feel good. Because the better you are as a woman and as a human being, and the better you feel about yourself and taking care of yourself, the better you are in the world, and the more you will have to offer, is what I do believe.
That's right. I second it. It's wonderful. It's a great way to increase and elevate peace learning. You start with you start with mom, hence Mom Talk and conversations that elevate consciousness within the relationship and our communities. I love Dr. Emily Sikking, and I have to say everything she said on the show and this conversation is authentic. It's real. I have personally experienced it in my motherhood journey and just as a woman in my life journey. And it's really important. It's important to have a relationship where you feel safe, you feel that there's a sense of belonging and interpersonal and safe connection, and that you can ask any questions and be aware that you're not being judged, that you're not being forced or pushed to do anything you're not comfortable with doing, and that you're just aware and conscious in your communication, and also inspired. So I'm oftentimes very much inspired when I have those encounters with Dr. Emily Sikking. Sue and Erin, any last thoughts on some of the talks and conversations we've had on Mom Talk today?
I would just like to comment on what Emily just shared. First of all, those look like incredible pieces of machinery, so congratulations to you. I'm sure you're offering them to the world at large. And I think that goes along with self-care, because if that's important to you and you care about that, then that should be where you focus your energy to make yourself feel what you need to feel. At the same time, I say that as a mom who does a lot of things that are self-care oriented for myself, but I learned very young from my sister who had 3 girls that it's also important to share and raise our children to respect their beauty from within. And
Absolutely.
I remember when my sister's kids were young, I heard her, comment on things that were internal and never comment on, you look beautiful, I love what you're wearing, your hair looks great, nothing external. And I always admired that. And then I had my own children and I had to learn, as I went along. But we want our children to love themselves from the inside out, from their heart space, first, and their soul and their mind. And so I think it's a catch-22 to really take care of ourselves and do what feeds our soul and makes us feel confident and happy with who we are. And at the same time, raise our children to love who they are, because of course we don't want them doing this at young ages. And,
No.
And really, engage in their heart and the goodness that they provide to the world and, and to their family, and just being connected to whoever's within, their arm's reach. So I think it's a balance, to be sure that we're raising our children, especially the girls, to not have body image issues. And I've grown up in a family where, my mother's not going to watch this, so I'll share, where she, there's eating disorder. And so, it's a very fine line, I think, and you would know this, I'm sure, Emily,
Yes.
Much more than me, that we raise our children not to focus on the external sides of their body.
For sure.
That's right. So beauty from the inside out. We covered lots of
Absolutely.
different topics today. And Erin, unfortunately, we're at the end of the program, but thank you both for joining us today. It was a pleasure. It was such a great conversation, as usual, to have the communities that are connected on this topic of conscious parenting join on this episode of Mom Talk with Dr. Emily Sikking. Until next time, we wish you all well and happy peace learning. Bye.
Bye.